Hello, welcome to Aussie Wristwatch. I'm Jessica Liley and I love watches. So, in the spirit of things, today we're going to do a very brief, is it a review? I had someone say to me in the comments the other day, when a watch is not in hand, it is not a review. Perhaps that's correct. So maybe it's just my thoughts and observations. I mean, I've had this watch in hand, but not on hand right now. The lawyer in me, very black and white. Anywho, today we're going to take a look at the classic or iconic Omega Speedmaster. But before we do that, please do me a favor, hit the like button before you head off, because I know all our attention spans are about this big. And also please subscribe and come back again for some more fun reviews and chit chat about watches. Every time you interact with me on those buttons, it helps me out with the YouTube algorithm to keep the channel going. Thanks, guys. So, let's get into this. So, the first things first. I did not understand what Speedy Tuesday was a few months ago. I've only just started living my watch fetish and hobby online this year. I've been a huge watch fan for many, many years, but only really, with what I like to look at, not the technicalities of the watches, which I'm learning about now, which only makes me love them more. So Speedy Tuesday, I'm like, what is this Speedy that everyone talks about? I know, it's very embarrassing. It's only one of the most iconic watches that there's going around, next to, I guess, a Rolex Submariner or something like that. It's an epic and iconic watch. First watch on the moon, people. Hence, we're going to look at that watch today. The Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch. I'm going to look at the 2021 model in particular because that's the one I've had my hands on. But, look, there's two versions of this watch, so that's what we're going to talk about today, okay? So when I say two versions, they're almost identical in the way that they look. It's the material that they're made with which is interesting. So they look the same basically, but when you take a really close look at them, you can spot the differences. There's one really obvious one which we'll get to, and the other's not so obvious. But the Speedy's in two different types of crystals and casebacks. The first version of the Speedmaster is a Hesalite crystal. Now, the Hesalite crystal makes the crystal look more clear looking, especially around the edges. And it's the closest you'll get to the original Moonwatch because sapphire crystal shatters. And in space with zero gravity, that's a big fucking problem. The Hesalite crystal, if it's broken, will just split in half, and that is it. So from a safety point of view, that is why that is certified for space, and the sapphire crystal is not. Now, the original Speedy to go to the moon was that one, in effect, basically. And the caseback of the version of that one that went to the moon was also a steel caseback. Now, that also allowed for engraving on the back of the watch, but again, I'd imagine that also had something to do with the safety features of the watch being able to travel in space. Now, if you go for this version, so I'm talking about the Hesalite and the steel caseback, you are getting a more traditional version of the iconic Speedmaster watch because it is more closely aligned to the watch that made its way to space and the moon. Okay, the other version of the Speedy is the so-called Sapphire Sandwich. So it's a sapphire crystal on top as well as a sapphire caseback. So it's very similar to this, which is an Omega Seamaster Diver. Sapphire crystal front and back with the anti-reflective. Now, it has a slightly different look because it makes the edges on the crystal look a little dull in certain lights. And the caseback, you can see that 1861 caliber movement in all its glory, which you cannot do on a steel caseback. because the sapphire crystal is also not easily scratchable compared to Hesalite, it's better from a wearability point of view if you're going to wear it as a daily beater, in my humble opinion. But as I said before, if it breaks, it shatters, and it's not something that you could have happening in space. Now, I don't know, to be honest with you, which one I'd pick. I love the history of watches, you guys know that, right? So I really want this watch in my collection now that I understand it's iconic, the history behind it. So then I'm torn because I'm a klutz. So if I'm gonna bump something or scratch it, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it good time. So the Hesalite for me, from that point of view, is probably not the right option, but as a purist, I'm torn because it is the right option, right? Because it's the closest I'm going to get to the one that went to the moon, unless I buy one that went to the moon, and let's face it, I don't have that kind of cash. But there's something about the sapphire crystal on a watch that's just absolutely stunning, and the fact that you can, and a crystal case back where you can see the movement. I mean, of all the watches I have, they're my favorites. So the Omega that I've got has it. The Tag Monaco has the crystal movement. I've got two Panerais that both have the clear case back, and so you see that movement, and it's fabulous. And my wife's got a Panerai that's got the steel case back. It's kind of not the same. So I mean, it's all just a bit of an esoteric argument, really, isn't it? But if push came to shove, I'm probably going to go the sapphire crystal. Okay, but what about, so we've got scratching. Okay, we've just talked about that. It's not very water resistant either, but it's not a dive watch. It's a moon watch. It's not meant to be in the water. I don't think there's water on the moon, because yeah, no, there's not. So from that point of view, it's 5 bars, so you're probably just washing your hands. There's no quick adjustment on the bracelet, but the newer model I've tried on has very thin links, and it actually it fit like a glove. It was really nice to wear on the wrist. There's also the fabric bracelet, which is quite nice, but I kind of was leaning towards the steel bracelet, to be honest with you, from that point of view. Look, I think other people like to put the NATO on, but yeah, I'm more a fan of the bracelet. I don't want it scratching. I don't care about water resistance. You guys have heard me say that before. I mean, this is 300 meters water resistant. I'm not even getting 10 meters in the water with it. So 5 bars for a speedy that's meant to be on the moon. It's meant to be a land watch, it's a space watch, but you know what I mean, like it's not going near the water, so it's all good from there. Now the other thing is, and this, I kind of love this actually, one's a manual wind and one's an automatic. Guess one is the manual wind. Yep. You have to manually wind this watch nearly every day. And you know what? I kind of like that. So this here is a manual wind, 3 days. This is an automatic with a power reserve. I think, is it 55 hours after all that? I think so. Either way, I don't really care. Automatics for me have to live on a watch winder most of the time because I rotate my watches. The manual of the Panerai is awesome because I don't wear that every day, so I just wind it to charge it up. There's no complications on the front, so it makes it super easy. I don't have to reset any of them, and I'm off. So I kind of like the concept of the manual wind. I think a speedy is going to be more of a daily beater. I know, she says that when it costs, I think it's about, I had it written down, it's not here. Look, they're about eight or 9 grand Australian, depending on which case you get. Sapphire is more expensive than the Hesalite by about, I thought it was like $1,000, but I could be wrong. I'll put it in I'll put in the descriptions for you so you can have a look. But so when I say daily beater, it's a fucking indulgent daily beater. I get that. It's, you know, even a Tudor is cheaper than that's considered more of a beater from that point of view. But either way, I mean, anything that's thousands of dollars is extravagant in my personal view. But if you're wearing it every day as the daily beater, the whole manual wind thing isn't so much an issue. And honestly, that kind of watch, I kind of like it anyway. But yeah, I think it's a great watch. I'm glad I found this watch, but then I'm not at the same time, because now I have to have this watch. You know, and like we just talked about, it's not cheap. But I feel as an enthusiast one-day collector, I'm not a collector until I have certain watches in the collection, and that's got to be one of them. You know, I really want a Navitimer. The history of that watch, the slide rule, all of that is very, very cool. But I think a Speedy is kind of ahead of the list a little. Just, you know, it's a classic. You know, and it's not about being able to post on Speedy Tuesday. It's just about having something that's so iconic in the collection that really rather excites me. But look, they're my thoughts on the very high level again on the Speedmaster. As I said, I don't have it hands-on here. I've had hands-on at my local boutique. I've tried them all on. Like, you know, I'm talking about the professional Moonwatch today, not the other variants, which I've also had on, or variations, whatever you want to call them, or models. But it's the ultimate chronograph, right? Like, it's a classic watch. I love it. It's very elegant. It's very stylish. It's very simple. And I would be happy to have that in my collection. Again, thank you for watching my channel, guys. Thank you for listening to me rant on about this watch. Please hit the like button. Please comment below. Let me know if you've got a Speedy and what you think, or if you want a Speedy and why you want the Speedy. Please subscribe to the channel so you can keep up on the latest rants or waffly discussions about watches. But yeah, I really love this watch. Thanks, guys.